In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about standard form for equations. So once again, we have three targets. Write or calculate the equation in standard form based on different information. Graph in standard form. And then rewrite from slope-intercept form to standard form. So the first thing we need to do is talk about, well, what is standard form? Standard form is the following. AX plus BY equals C. Now, when we are taking slope-intercept form and rewriting it into standard form, there are three stipulations that we have to make sure are true. X and Y have to be on the same side and the constant, which is the plain number, on the other. You are not allowed to have any decimals or fractions. And the leading coefficient x, so that means your a, must be positive. So keeping those three things in mind, let's go to our first example. Okay, y equals negative 2x plus 3. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to move x and y on the same side. So when I move a negative 2x over, I have to change its sign. So I'm going to add 2x. So we're looking at a positive 2x plus y equals 3. So x and y are on the same side, constants on the other. There are no decimals or fractions. Check. And a, which is the number in front of x, is positive. Check. So we're done. So let's look at the second one. Start by moving the 7x over. And when I move the 7x over, it has to go from positive to negative. So minus 7x plus y equals 9. So x and y are on the same side and constants on the other. Check. No fractions or decimals. Check. But hold on. There's a negative 7 in front of x, and we said that has to be positive. So to get rid of this negative sign, we have to end up going through and switching all the signs in the equation. So it becomes positive 7x minus y equals negative 9. So if I'm going to flip one sign, I got to make sure I flip all the signs. Okay, third one, sorry. Move the 1/4 x over, so it becomes negative 1/4 x plus y equals 5. So x and y on the same side, check. Fraction, no, we have a fraction. So to get rid of a fraction, you have to multiply everything by the denominator. So to show that I'm going to multiply everything by the denominator, I'm going to put the whole equation in parentheses, and I'm going to put a 4 outside. So think of it like distributive property. So negative 1/4 x times 4 is just negative x. 4 times y is 4y. And 4 times 5 is 20. So now I'm going to say, x can't be negative, so I'm going to go through and switch all my signs. So my final answer is positive x minus 4y equals negative 20. Okay, pause the video and you try it. Okay, moving on to the next concept. Okay, the next concept is going to help us with graphing in standard form. So in order to graph them, we are going to calculate the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So here it says finding intercepts. To find the x-intercept, which remember is a point x comma 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, our y is equal to 0. So plug in 0 for the letter y. And then whatever you have left, you're going to solve it for x. And then the y-intercept is going to be just backwards. So you're going to let x equals 0 and solve for y. Okay, so 3x plus 7y equals 21. So I'm going to start with the x-intercept first. On the x-intercept, you're going to plug 0 in for the letter y. So 3x plus 7 times 0 equals 21. Well, 7 times 0 is just 0, so that goes away. So you're just looking at 3x equals 21. Divide both sides by 3, and you get x equals 7. And remember, 7 comma 0, because we said y was 0. So if you want to write it as a point, it's your x number we found, which was 7 comma 0, because that's what we plugged in for y. Okay, y-intercept, we're going to go backwards. This time we're going to plug 0 in for x. And 3 times 0, well, that's 0, so that basically goes away. So we're looking at 7y equals 21. Divide both sides by 7, and we get y equals 3. Write it as a point. So remember, we plugged 0 in for x. So 0 comma 3, because that was our y value. Now, to graph this, okay, you're going to go on to the x-axis at positive 7 and put a dot. Then on our y-axis, we're going to go to positive 3 and put a dot. And then all you have to do is draw a line between them. And then you're done. So let's go to the middle one. So plug 0 in for a y, which makes the minus 0 go away. So we get 2x equals negative 6. Divide by 2, so we get x to equal negative 3. So that would be the point negative 3 comma 0. Which means go to the left 3 on the x-axis and put a dot. Okay, for the y-intercept, plug 0 in for x, which makes the 2 times 0 go away. But here's the tricky part. Don't just write down y, because what is the sign in front of y? It is a negative, so please don't forget that negative. So you get negative y equals negative 6. Then divide both sides by negative, and you come up with y equals positive 6, which would be the ordered pair 0, comma 6. So on your y-axis, go up to positive 6 and put a dot. And then all you have to do is draw a line between them, and you are finished. Pause the video and you try it yourself. Okay, hopefully we got the same answer. Okay, moving on. We're now going to talk about some special kinds of lines. So not every single line is always going to be a diagonal line. You're going to have some lines that go left and right only, and you'll have other lines that go up and down only. Okay, so we have a little saying here that helps us, and here's our little saying. It is called hoi vux. So let's talk about, well, what does each letter stand for in hoi vux? Okay, H stands for horizontal. O stands for, not really O, but think of it as the number 0. So 0 slope. And the Y stands for the equation will look like Y equals a number. So you only have one variable, and that variable is Y. Okay, Vux parts. Well, V stands for vertical. U stands for undefined slope. Or remember, if you want to put a 0 with the slash through it, that's the same thing. And X stands for what the equation will look like, which is X equals a number only. So no Y in that one, only the letter X. So now if I look at our third example for graphing, you're going to notice when you look at each one of these equations, they only have one variable in them. So that puts them into the special case. So on A, I look and I say, all right, what do I see? I see the letter Y. So the letter Y, I'm going to think of the beginning part, which is hoi vux. So then the H tells me, oh, I'm going to draw a horizontal line. So here I'm going to divide each side by 2 to get Y by itself, and I get Y equals 3. So that means I'm going to go on the Y axis, because Y is the only letter I got, put a dot at 3, and then I'm going to make a horizontal line. Done. Okay, the second one. When I look at this one, I only see the letter X. So that means I'm thinking of the Vux. And V stands for vertical. So I'm going to divide each side by 3 to get X by itself. So X equals -2. So on the X axis, go to -2 and put a dot. And then make a vertical line going through at -2. Okay, pause the video and you complete the 2 triads next to it. Okay, moving on. Let's look at our next example. Example number 4 says, write an equation in standard form if I only give you the x-intercept, which is -6, and the y-intercept, which is 5. Okay, so remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay, so to find c, you're going to take the x-intercept and times it by the y-intercept. So for C, I would do -6 times 5. So I would say C is negative 30. Yep, so now we know what C is. So now we have to figure out A and B. Okay, so if I want the x-intercept to be negative 6, so if I want x to equal negative 6, then if I look at this, I know right now ax would equal negative 30. Because remember, if you plug 0 in for y, that makes the y part go away when you're trying to find the x-intercept. So you have to think, well, okay, what number could I plug in for A that when I divide both sides, I would come up with the answer of negative 6? So hopefully everybody would say, oh, well, if I have a 5x equals negative 30 and I divide both sides by 5, I would get the answer of negative 6. So that tells me right now that A has to be 5. Okay, what about B? Okay, well, the y-intercept, we know the y-intercept is 5. So I know by equals negative 30. So then I think, well, what do I have to divide both sides by that will give me the answer of 5? So hopefully everybody says, oh, negative 6. Because negative 30 divided by negative 6 would give me positive 5. Okay, and then we could kind of make a little conclusion here. Do you notice that we said A is 5, and where else do you see 5 in the problem? Well, you see the y-intercept is 5. So actually the y-intercept number goes in front of x, and the x-intercept number actually goes in front of y. But so many people miss this because they just want to put negative 6 in front of x, but you have to remember it really goes in front of y. So if you can remember the shortcut that the y-intercept goes in for A and the x-intercept goes in for B, then you're good. All right, so on the try it. Pause the video and you try this one. This was a little tricky because most people want to just circle negative 8x plus 2y equals negative 16 as their answer. But if you remember when we were talked about standard form, we said that you couldn't have a negative number in front of x. So in order to get rid of that, we had to go through and switch all the signs. So your final answer is really 8x minus 2y equals 16. Okay, number 5. You're going to spend $150 on music tickets. Reserved seats are $25, and general tickets are $10. Sorry if you could hear my puppy. She's super playful right now. So we want to write an equation for this situation. So the total amount I'm going to spend, that is going to be my C number. So right now, is everybody okay that C is $150 because that's my total amount to spend? I'm going to choose to call reserve tickets X and general tickets Y. So how much does a reserve ticket cost? It costs $25. So 25X plus General admission, they cost $10, so 10y. And there's your answer. Okay, example number 6. This one, we have a trail mix that we're going to be making. We're going to spend a total of $40. And so forth. So the first thing wants to know how many could she buy if it's only cashews. Then second thing is how many pounds would it be if it was only almonds. And then the third thing is, well, how many pounds if it was a mixture of both. So the first thing I have to do is write me an equation. Okay, so once again, 40 is the total, so that's my C number. And then how much does an almond cost? So if you come over here and you look at the little picture, does everybody see it says almond is $8 per pound? So that's going to be 8x. And then cashews is $10 per pound, so that's going to be plus 10y. So there's my equation. Okay, we also want to make a graph. Does everybody see the graph off to the side? So let's start with making the graph, and then we can answer our questions after that. So to graph, remember, find the two intercepts. So if I want to find the x-intercept, plug 0 in for y. So then you're looking at 8x equals 40, divide, and you get x to equal 5. And then find the y-intercept, so plug 0 in for x. So then you get 10y equals 40. Divide, and you get y to equal 4. So on the x-axis, I'm going to go to 5 and put a dot. On the y-axis, I'm going to go to 4 and put a dot. And then I'm going to draw a line between them. Okay, so now we're going to go answer our questions. So the first question is, well, how many pounds would it have to be if it's only cashews? Okay, so remember, we called cashews the y. So if I look and I say, oh, okay, well, what was my y-intercept? That was 4. So if it's only cashews, then we would need 4 pounds. Okay, what if it's only almonds? Well, remember, we called almonds the x numbers. So then I'd look up here and I'd say, okay, well, my x-intercept was 5. So if it's only almonds, then that would be 5 pounds. Okay, to get a mixture. Well, to get a mixture, you either would have to guess and check a lot, or you would look at the graph. And so that's why we made you graph it, just so that we could look at that and avoid some of the guessing and checking. So if I go on my graph here, I'm going to go to what I think is maybe a little bit easier to find a point. And if I'm on the x-axis at 2, so I'm right here on the x-axis at 2, and if I follow it up, it looks like that's about halfway on the y. So remember, x is almonds, so I'd say 2 pounds of almonds and 2.5 pounds of cashews. So basically what you're doing is you're just picking a point that happens to be on the line and try to pick the best point that's the easiest one to write an X and a Y number for. But really, anything that is along this line on it is a mixture of the two. and you're finished. Thanks for viewing. If you have any questions, let me know as always.